Welcome, 8th graders. Today we're jumping right into the mechanics of MLA citations. Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking. Formatting rules, commas, parentheses, it kind of feels like a lot of tedious busywork, right? I completely get it. But I'm going to show you how this specific academic skill isn't just about following some arbitrary rules. It actually directly connects to your personal integrity. We're going to look at the how, sure, but more importantly, we're really digging deep into the why. So let's get into it.
Before we even look at a single comma or parentheses, we absolutely have to understand the moral foundation here. Why do we cite sources in the first place? Well, it's an act of biblical honesty. Romans 13:7 tells us to give honor where honor is due. You see, in our digital age, copying and pasting a brilliant thought or a super rare fact is literally just a click away. It's so easy to pass something off as your own. But choosing to stop, find the author, and give credit to those creators for their hard work, that is exactly what this scripture means. It's a daily, practical demonstration of respect, integrity, and honor.
So here's our roadmap for today's lesson. First, the power of acknowledgement. Second, mastering in-text citations. Third, building a works cited page. Then, real-world citation examples. Fifth, checking your understanding. And finally, the godly learner philosophy.
All right, Section 1, the power of acknowledgement, giving credit where credit is due.
So what is plagiarism? Simply put, it's using someone else's ideas, data, or words without giving them proper acknowledgement. Basically, when you fail to give credit, you commit plagiarism. Think about it like this. Imagine you spent days building this incredible, intricate world in Minecraft, or maybe you wrote a deeply personal, fantastic short story. Now imagine someone else comes along, slaps their name on it, and takes all the praise. You'd feel completely robbed, right? That's exactly what plagiarism is. It's taking something that isn't yours. And that is essentially the exact opposite of the respect and honesty God calls us to.
So there are some very practical and deeply moral reasons why citing sources matters. It's like telling your reader, hey, I didn't make this up. Here's exactly where I learned it. Doing this builds incredible trust because they know you put in the real work. Practically speaking, it avoids serious plagiarism charges in school. And trust me on this one, high schools and colleges take this so seriously that plagiarism can literally lead to failing a course or even expulsion. Citing correctly protects your reputation and prepares you for the rigorous work you'll face in high school, college, and beyond. It's really about protecting your future.
Moving right along to Section 2, mastering in-text citations, or as I like to call it, the quick name tag. The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the difference between the two main types of citations we use in MLA format. An in-text citation is exactly like a quick name tag placed right next to a borrowed fact, right in the middle of your paragraph. It's like casually saying, "Hello, my name is Mark," in passing. The works cited page, on the other hand, well, that's the complete directory, the master list at the very end of your paper. It's where someone goes to look up Mark's full address, phone number, and bio. You need both to point your reader in the right direction.
Let's look a little closer at that quick name tag. Whenever you use a fact or a quote in your writing, you just put the author's last name and the page number in parentheses right at the end of the sentence. So you type an open parenthesis, the author's last name, like Smith, a space, the page number, like 42, and a close parenthesis. Now, here's a massive tip, and it's a super common mistake for 8th graders. Notice that the period goes after the parentheses. You finish the citation first, and then you drop the period to close out the entire sentence.
But what happens if you find a really fantastic piece of information, but there's no specific author listed? This happens all the time when you're researching on the internet. You might find a great article published by National Geographic or NASA, where the organization wrote it, not a single person. Well, you just adapt. Instead of the author's last name, you use the title of the work inside those parentheses. The whole goal is just to point your reader to the right place on your master list, even if there isn't a specific person to name.
All right, Section 3, building a works cited page. This is your master list.
So let's see how we construct this works cited page. This is the list placed at the very end of your project. It gathers up all those quick name tags from your paper and gives the reader the full, detailed blueprint of every single source. A major, unbreakable rule here is that everything must be neatly organized in alphabetical order. Why? Well, because this makes it incredibly easy for a teacher, or really any reader, to quickly cross-reference the name tag they saw in your paragraph with the full details on this master list.
To cite a book on this page, you build it step by step. First, you write the author's name reversed. So that's last name, comma, first name, period. Next comes the title of the book, which should be in italics, followed by a period. Finally, you list the publisher, a comma, and the year it was published, ending with a period.
Now, I don't want you stressing about memorizing this perfectly on day one. It's really just a formula. Treat it like a math equation or following a recipe in the kitchen. Just follow the steps, add the right punctuation, and I promise, it'll become second nature to you.
Of course, MLA format also covers websites, articles, and videos. The golden rule here is to include as much detail as possible. You want the author if available, the title, the publication name, the publisher, the date published, and the URL for websites. You want your reader to be able to easily track down the exact same source you used. And here's a quick pro teacher tip for those URLs. Whatever you do, don't try to type them out by hand. Copy and paste them directly from your web browser into your document. It saves a ton of time and completely avoids typos that would end up breaking the link.
Okay, Section 4, Real-World Citation Examples. Let's actually see this in action.
Imagine you're writing a science paper. You're doing your research, and you want to include this amazing fact. The Amazon rainforest holds more species than any other terrestrial ecosystem. Now let's pretend you found this exact fact in a physical book written by an author named Mark Johnson, and it was right there on page 78. This brilliantly illustrates how you give him credit right in the middle of your paragraph. You simply add the parentheses with Johnson 78 right at the end of the sentence. Notice how the period goes at the very end, wrapping up both your sentence and the citation together. And there's your quick name tag. By doing this, you've successfully avoided plagiarism and, most importantly, given honor where it is due. Then, when you get to your works cited page at the end of the paper, you provide the full blueprint for that exact source. You list it out step by step, Johnson, comma, Mark, period. The title, Rainforest Wonders, in italics, followed by a period, published by Nature Press, comma, in 2020. You just plug the information right into the formula. Now, what if you had found that same fact on a website instead? Your works cited entry would include the specific article title in quotation marks, the organization name, the year, and the direct URL. We include all these specific pieces so that anyone reading your paper, like say your teacher, can simply click the link, read the article for themselves, and verify that amazing fact. It creates a completely clear, transparent trail of your hard work.
All right, Section 5, Checking Your Understanding. Now it's your turn to practice.
Now that we've covered the mechanics, it's time to check your understanding with your homework assignments for this week. I need you to complete these 5 questions. You'll be practicing everything from formatting an in-text citation for Mary Lopez, to building a works cited entry for Sarah Kim's book, to explaining what you do when a source lacks an author. You are fully equipped to tackle these. Remember, you can always refer back to your notes or the earlier parts of this lesson to solve the tricky ones. So go ahead and take a screenshot or write these down right now.
And finally, Section 6, the Godly Learner Philosophy. This is where we bring knowledge and wisdom together.
Let's wrap up today's lesson by zooming out for a second. Why do we even do academic work at all? Well, here at HeroesMart Academy, we intertwined biblical morality with education because, frankly, education without morality can hurt. Simply being capable just isn't enough. Knowledge and intelligence should help students make wise, God-honoring choices rather than simply make them more capable. Because a highly intelligent person without integrity, they can do a lot of damage. Properly citing your sources is a daily, practical exercise of that honesty and integrity we are trying to build in you.
Romans 8:6-7 teaches us that keeping the mind spiritually minded leads to life and peace. Connect this somewhat mundane act of citing a source to that larger picture. When you choose to do the right thing when no one is watching, like taking the time to look up that author's name and doing the tedious work to format it correctly, you are keeping your mind governed by the Spirit. This is exactly why we pursue academic excellence while keeping our minds centered on God, truth, wisdom, and righteous choices. Following MLA rules isn't just about avoiding trouble, it's about walking in truth. So 8th graders, as you go forth and write your research papers, remember that every single citation is a choice of character. Will you use your academic knowledge simply to be capable, or will you use it to be truly wise, honest, and God-honoring? Think about that as you complete your assignments this week. You've got this. Class dismissed.